Mr. Chairman, always good to have you. As we consider this notion of resumed hostilities with Iran, even if the president suggests that we're not going back to war outright, I would imagine if you're a member of the House or someone up for re-election in the Senate and you're home right now, you're having to answer to this for your constituents, right? I would imagine that as we draw closer to the midterms, these kind of headlines only get harder for electeds to navigate.
Yes, it's uncertain for all of us watching the situation, but particularly jarring for those seeking re-election and trying to give your constituents a sense of certainty, especially about the cost of things in their life, particularly gas prices. It's very hard for an elected official to say that we're in much better shape than we otherwise should be, given the fact that the Strait of Hormuz is effectively closed. That's a very hard message, but America is in a dramatically better position than where we've been in previous generations with our oil supply and production and refining capacity here in the United States. That's a lame message to take if you're running for re-election, that things could be worse. That is never a good election year message, but that's what they have to contend with right now.
Mm-hmm. As somebody who's run for re-election a couple times, Mr. Chairman, you wonder what the mentality is going to feel like by Labor Day. And I don't know if you buy into that long-standing bit of wisdom that people start to solidify their opinions right around the beginning of September, and that's when these races start to harden. That the races start to codify themselves based on what we're seeing in the current standing in the polls. Right now, I guess everybody's on the beach. You know that. They're not paying quite as much attention. But when does $3.79 become a real problem for consumers who are starting to make decisions for November?
Well, it's currently a problem for families that are traveling this summer. This is prime travel season, prime motoring season in the United States. And
when do they connect the dots to elections?
But you're right. At Labor Day, it does solidify. Everything kind of crystallizes and feelings get locked in. And since Election Day is no longer really Election Day, once you hit the month of October, you have people voting or starting to vote across the country. That means that you basically have a month-long election day here in the United States. And so you really want to have your act together. And as an incumbent running for re-election, especially as a Republican going into a midterm, it's going to be tough. It's a very tough message. So that is when you want to have things have a smoother path forward when it comes to Iran and with energy prices. You want to see things starting to recede by then. Otherwise, it's going to lock in a very negative view for Republicans, a negative view for President Trump going into Election Day, which is really catastrophic for House Republicans especially, and some Senate races as well.
Well, I'd like to ask you about one Senate race in particular, the Senate race in Maine. We are still waiting to see what Graham Platner's future will be if he does ultimately drop his campaign in his bid to unseat Susan Collins in the face of sexual assault allegations, which of course he denies. Mr. Chairman, if you're Susan Collins right now, is it heartening to know you may have a new opponent in a matter of weeks who isn't going to have as much time to build up support? Or did you want to run against Graham Platner?
Oh, I think Senator Collins wanted to run against Graham Platner, and the Democrats started to understand that with multiple serious allegations, and each one becoming more damning and less defensible for the Democratic Party. And as late as three days ago, you had Democratic operatives, especially from the socialist wing of the party, defending every bit of allegation against Graham Platner. It's troubling for them to have to answer for that. But there's this larger divide within the Democratic Party we're going to see come to fore, which could be of benefit to Senator Collins and to Republicans generally, which is the divide within the Democratic Party between the socialist left that is ideologically fixed. They were hoping that a Graham Platner, working class looking guy who was, went to elite boarding schools, but they've tried to write that out of his narratives. But the socialists wanted a white working class guy to make this look like instead of an elite intellectual activity from the socialists and not diverse, they were trying to show a level of diversity with this ideology that's never been evident. And so you're going to have that wing of the party versus those that really want to win with a more pragmatic view, though liberal. And those things are going to play out in coming days in Maine. And we're going to see that really open up not just what happened in New York and New York primary elections from a few weeks ago, but to show an additional state that you have this serious ideological divide within the party between moderates or liberals versus the very far left socialist wing of the party driven by Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders.
Well, the Maine Democratic Party does not seem divided on the issue of getting Graham Platner out of the race and keeping him out of whatever comes next. Pretty dramatic stuff, Mr. Chairman, from Devin Murphy Anderson, the executive director of the Maine Democratic Party, who was so upset about what she was hearing and overtures apparently from the Platner campaign that she put up this video to send a very stern message. Let's watch and listen.
The Maine Democratic Party has been working around the clock to develop a process to replace our U.S. Senate nominee that is open, inclusive, transparent, and fair. The integrity of this process is just as important as the outcome, and we are committed to ensuring that Democrats across our state can have confidence in both. Unfortunately, Graham Platner's team has repeatedly reached out to us in an attempt to put their thumb on the scale of what this process looks like.
Wow. So what do you see here, Patrick McHenry? Some sort of shotgun primary process? What could the party do in Maine to satisfy voters that they had a say in this and that Platner's thumb was not on the scale?
Nothing. All it is show. This is what happened with Kamala Harris replacing Joe Biden after it became evident of his inability to see through a successful election against President Trump. So it's going to play out like that. Again, you're going to see theater about inclusivity and input, but the party apparatus and the party rules dictate, and state law will dictate this replacement process, which is very closed circuit in the Democratic Party within Maine, just like most parties across the country. This is effectively a closed door event, but they'll have some theater to show inclusivity. The word integrity, though, is very interesting to hear. The Democratic Party is trying to regain their sense of integrity, having done this elaborate dance to defend Graham Platner in the hopes of gaining the Senate seat. Both parties, in fact, my friends and Republicans in Texas are doing something similar around a pretty bad Republican nominee in the Texas Senate race. So both parties are dealing with this, and these are things that parties have to deal with from time to time. And unfortunately, we're all going to be able to. Unfortunately for Democrats in Maine, they're the ones that have to go through this pretty nasty and arduous process to find a way to salvage an election in Maine.